Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another video. And it seems the leaks for Insomniac have finally come out. They've been flooding the market, well, flooding Twitter. We've got gameplay footage of Wolverine. We've got a whole bunch of stuff. Now, out of respect to the developers, I'm not going to be showing any of the Wolverine footage here because I think it's just not right. However, we are going to go through some of the numbers. We are going to go through some of the details, some of the business side worries that they have that kind of show that they are afraid of what Microsoft is doing, how they look to combat it, what the Activision Blizzard deal means to them, and of course, where Insomniac is going from here. When will we see the likes of Venom? When will we see? I mean, they've always kind of hinted at it, but now we know it's a real thing that the Venom game will be coming. Whether it's going to be a DLC or not is a complete another matter. But, as it stands right now, it is kind of weird. And it is unfortunate that this information has come out for Sony, but for the rest of the world, just like it was for Microsoft, it's a honeycomb waiting to be dived in. So let's dive right in. And if you do enjoy this content, do consider leaving a like and subscribe. Let's see if we can hit that 350 like challenge. If you want to support me further, you can do that through my Patreon, YouTube membership, or of course, Super Thanks, which is the button directly below the video. Of course, don't forget my community has decided to punish me further by making me play through Kong today on this channel tonight on stream. So make sure you turn up to that and see my demise into insanity. Now, on with the actual video. So we have the industry shift, the leaping frog. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard positions it to leapfrog our current pillars. And what do they mean by pillars? Their current business structure is what they're talking about here. It says Activision provides incredible strategic value across live service games. Of course, this isn't just live service, it's like mobile, PC, and as it says here, scale in mobile and PC storefront, battle.net. In addition, Microsoft is building a mobile gaming store to compete with Apple and Google. So Microsoft here is clearly thinking of the bigger picture. Sure, these single player games are of great, entertainment value. For those of you that enjoy this sort of game that Sony provides, they're great, but they are short-lived. You kind of play them for what, 10 hours, 20 hours? I know you're going to get those few exceptions that say, oh, I've been playing Spider-Man for 700 hours, but they're not really, how many people are going to be doing that? When you look at a game like Skyrim, Minecraft, Halo, Infinite Battle Multiplayer, regardless of what you say about these games, Grounded, people are still playing them. Sea of Thieves, people are playing them years on, and they still have a pretty healthy player base, right? So when you're looking at those type of games that are constantly generating revenue, even years after they have kind of been released, that is the thing that Sony is missing. And they tried to do that with their live service game. Factions 2, in my opinion, would have been that game, but they cancelled it, and they kind of aren't doubling down on it. And as we have seen, apparently Spider-Man 2 was supposed to get an online mode as well, and that may have been cancelled too. But as you can see here, Microsoft is clearly thinking of the bigger picture, what brings in the most revenue. And, they are still focusing on those single player experiences like we can see with Hellblade. But, and Clockwork Orange is going to be another one. Clockwork Revolution. But hopefully, this will be a kick in the backside for Sony. As we can see here, let's see if we can make this bigger. There we go. It says industry major shifts and threats. Now, I know a lot of people are calling this fake because it's got the Insomniac logo on here. It was leaked from Insomniac. What did you think their documents are going to have? Microsoft? Naughty Dog? Capcom? I mean, come on. Anyone with a semblance of brain will tell you that if an Insomniac document is being made, it's going to have the watermark of Insomniac. But if it is fake, this is a good fake, right? It says industry major shifts and threats. The Call of Duty threat in 2027. Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard for $69 billion could disrupt and threaten console gaming and game subscription markets. I mean, this has always been the thing, right? They could. because apparently having exclusive game modes for PlayStation is perfectly okay. Having a game mode exclusive for one whole year, not a problem. Not to the FTC, not to the CMA, not to Sony. But if Microsoft is about to do that in 2027, holy shit, hold the brakes. This is now a national pandemic. You know, this is a national crisis. We need to do something about it. That's what I'm reading there, right? Because that is dumb. That is truly dumb. Console shift from PlayStation to Xbox with timing and in-game differential as the weapons. I think Microsoft should push that. I think they should. You know, they're well within their right to do it. I know the FTC is trying to prevent that from happening because they have to protect their PlayStation, right? Their PlayStation has to be protected because they're not for the consumers, they're for their PlayStation. They only care about themselves. But if Microsoft can find a loophole to provide exclusivity, even if it is like by a month or whatever, or just exclusive characters that they can bring in, like Master Chief to, you know, Call of Duty, I think with the IPs, I think they absolutely should do it, and it will be exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. It won't change anything. We've seen in the past where games like Soul Calibur had exclusive characters for different platforms. This would be no different, right? Subscription. Microsoft's comprehensive ecosystem coupled with exclusivity creates greater dominance. And that's the thing. Sony may own the console hardware market, but in terms of software sales, Microsoft is killing it. With access to cloud gaming, PC through Steam, and PC Game Pass through the Microsoft Store, and people do buy from there. And then you've obviously got the Xbox console as well. So, you know, they've got revenue coming in from multiple different angles. Sony impact. Massive threat to PlayStation Plus. Upwards of 1.5 billion of annual revenue threat gap to fill. 45 million subs times $12 monthly times 12 months times 20% multiplayer third party. That's the fee that they would have to pay for Call of Duty. They're getting 20% of the revenue now, but in the future, I think they're going to be getting 30% thanks to the FTC. So they actually are getting a better deal. Day and date threat. Post-acquisition, Microsoft will put Activision games on Game Pass day and date. Now, this is the big one to me. This right here is the big one to me. Because if you're like a Activision gamer only, like, you know, Overwatch, Call of Duty, it makes perfect sense for you to go and either get a Game Pass subscription and stop buying those games on PlayStation, or picking up an Xbox if the long-term future for yourself is those games, because in the long run you will save money. And if you don't care about PCs or, you know, that angle of things, and you don't care about the cloud, making that switch from PlayStation to Xbox is a logical thing. You'll pay $120 a year or whatever the price increases to. All it costs you is playing 2 games from that catalog that are new releases from Microsoft, or if new, you know, third-party releases that they get day one, and that's it. You've already made the cost of that purchase for the whole year. So if you actually played 2 games that released, say, in January, for the next 11 months, you've got that for free. That's what it boils down to, right? Leapfrog. Activision provides incredible strategic value across live service games, scale in mobile and PC fronts. Microsoft can supply multi-game subscriptions 50%, console games 50%, and PC 60%. Sony's pillars are already dated and behind the competition. It is absolutely, because Sony is still focusing on an old archaic model, which is the console platform. Microsoft has decided that the Xbox platform is there, but it's not enough. It's stagnating and it needs to expand. And it's decided to jump to that model quite early, and it has caused a massive stir within the economy and the gaming industry, but it's working, and Game Pass is profitable from what we have seen. I mean, Microsoft have repeatedly said that Game Pass is profitable. They are making profit through it. Sony impact need to expand. By expand, I'm assuming they're talking about acquisitions and purchases of publishers. And I think what's going to happen here is that Microsoft is still going to be purchasing publishers to build that war chest that is Game Pass. Because the more value they can add to Game Pass, the more incentive you have of getting people to signing up to your service. It's really that simple. Premium content. This is the elusive perfect gaming subscription. Premium content. Expectation of free, best-in-class games creates an unsustainable model. At least that's what Sony is saying. Monthly and incremental subs won't cover investment, but Microsoft has proven that it can. Unified mobile PC console experience doesn't exist. At the moment, yes, it does, but not in the way it's not mainstream. If you're looking at games like Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Tower of Fantasy, and many more that's going to come, like Blue Protocol, I think that's PC only actually. But there's a few others that are coming that are basically allowing mobile and PC gamers to coexist at the same time. It's here. It's just not uniformly here, and it's not being embraced. But in the future, it's going to be a seamless thing. Anything that's available on console will be available on mobile, at least for the multiplayer side of things, I reckon. And it'll be coexisting because that will allow people to make more money. Money is what motivates people. Form factor and computer power are too diverse. That is true. So, as we've seen with Resident Evil 4 and now Resident Evil Village, that's coming to the iPhone 15 Pro. It's what, a £1,500 device. So it's expensive to get into it, but like people keep saying, it's a multi-use tool. It's not just used for gaming, but it is powerful enough to run games. Sony Impact premium sales model is the central approach. Again, they are going for that console exclusivity. We make play games only for PlayStation, and we are pushing that as our only option. And it's a dated model. Now we're looking at this over here in terms of their revenue, and we can quickly see like how big, diverse these things are, and it's actually quite scary, right? So if we're looking at Miles Morales, 10.2 million unit sales lifetime, it cost them they made 260 million in revenue. It cost them 156. They made 104 million. That return of interest, the ROI, for those of you that don't know, is 120%. This was extremely profitable. What should have been a DLC was packaged as a full product. I mean, this was a DLC, right? Miles Morales was a DLC. They packaged it as a full product. And of course, no one complained about that. Well, I mean, the Xbox fans were laughing at them, but the media wasn't complaining. Everyone else, but come Modern Warfare 3, everyone was complaining, right? Anyway, moving on. In order to break even from Miles Morales, they needed to sell 3 million units. As you can see, they've sold 10.2 million. So they actually made a really good return on that DLC. You're looking at Spider-Man 1 Remaster, which was packaged with Miles Morales and then was sold separately. They sold 4 million units compared to Miles Morales. The total revenue, was 50 million. I expected more. The total cost is 39 million. So they made an 11 million profit. Again, it's not 104, but 11 million profit is nothing to be scoffed at. And they had a return of investment at 48%. That is almost 50% return. They only needed 1 million to break even. Now, Ratchet and Clank here is the surprising one because everyone keeps crying for a Ratchet and Clank game, a Banjo-Kazooie game, or, Conker game. And this is why those games don't exist, right? This right here. They sold 2.2 million lifetime units and basically no one bought it. It's a launch title, right? Wasn't it? And it sold very little. It cost 73 million. They made 73 million. It cost 81 million. They lost 8 million. That's 10% loss in return on investment. And they needed roughly about 4 million to break even, and they just couldn't get it. Spider-Man 2, very similar sales to Miles Morales, but they made it 130 million more, right? But at the same time, just look at the total cost, right? That's the total cost. The profit is 75 million. So yes, they sold, 300,000 more, but that total revenue which is nice, by the way, but that total cost is not sustainable. Look at the total costs here compared to how the games are now. You've got 75%, 35% return on investment, and they needed 5.5 million copies to break even. Now, contrast this to something like Final Fantasy 16. If this was in a similar vein, Final Fantasy 16 would not have broken even. I'm just saying, if these numbers were the same. Then they've got forecasts of Spider-Man 3 and Wolverine, 14.5 million for Spider-Man 3, 10 million for Wolverine. You got the total revenue of them assuming it's going to cost 555 million or 390 million, so they expect Wolverine to cost the same amount of Spider-Man. With Spider-Man 3, the total cost they're estimating at 385 million, 305 for Wolverine. You're looking at total profit. They're assuming it's going to be 170 million and 85 million for Wolverine, which will provide them with a return of interest of 75% and 40%, with break-evens at 5.5 million units and 5 million. Now, being Marvel, we kind of expect these to sell as opposed to games like Ratchet and Clank. But, these are huge projections of sales, but if they don't hit that target, that return of investment is going to drop really badly. And that just shows that this cost in building the total cost in building the game is ridiculous. It's not sustainable. It's a huge gamble. And this is why businesses when they try to make a AAA game and they fail, they shut down because that cost is so expensive. We're looking at now the per Steam direct sales. Spider-Man Remastered has sold 1.3 million units. You can see Horizon Zero Dawn actually did pretty well with 3.3 million units, almost the same as Final Fantasy 16. Then we're looking at God of War, which also did really well. Days Gone, I'm actually surprised that actually did so well with 1.7 million, considering how people treated it. Released at least 1.5 years ago, longer opportunity for more sales. So that's another thing, right? You know, these have had a much bigger window of people to buy. I mean, I recently just bought Days Gone, so that would, accrue to this Days Gone number, but I got mine for like, what, I think it was like £10 on Steam sale. So, you know, the fact that it's been there for so long, sales are happening with the product. So this is actually a bit misleading. But now we're looking at this released about 6 months ago, and this is what we're looking at. Really, you're looking at Sackboy, which basically no one played, no one wanted, no one done anything. Miles Morales, again, didn't dent. Uncharted didn't dent. And it's clear that only the Marvel games are of any real interest to PC gamers. I mean, we've seen these over here, but again, these have like a year and a half to 2 years. You know, this one has 3 years under its belt. Horizon, God of War has over a year, and Days Gone has over 2 years under its belt. So it's clear when you do like the ratio, like the Marvel games are the ones people keeping a close eye on. But yeah, like when you look at the Legacy of Thieves collection, even that's not true, because Miles Morales absolutely bombed at 450,000 sales, and 62.9k for Sackboy was a colossal failure. Of course, then we're looking at this. This is let's reduce this a little so we can actually read it. This is the XMen license terms. So this was actually kept under wraps, but it seems that Sony do now have, as well as Spider-Man and Venom, XMen license terms. Yet, you know, they were crying for Blade, the one game the Xbox had that was from Marvel. They wanted that too, the greedy punks. Platforms, PlayStation, console, and PC. So it's confirmed that it is coming to PC. So for those of you PC gamers out there, happy days. Commitments. In order to get the license, it cost them $621 million. 120 million of that is development commitment for each required title. Another 120 million is aggregated for the fourth title if they decide to go with that. So that is 360 million on its own, up to 480 if the fourth title comes along. But that's, then you got the 30 million for marketing commitment for each title. That's 90 million plus 15 million for the fourth game. So that's like 105. Then you got 9 million recoupable advance for each required title. Another 9 million. I mean, this is crazy money that's going on here. It's costing them a lot of money, and they need to make sure these games sell, considering they've got the actual development costs as well. It paints a very bleak feature on how expensive these games are. They hope to release these games they need to release the games by 2035, sell all games through at least 2038, and later if Marvel allows to continue. Between now and December 31 and 2035, Marvel cannot release or announce any X-Men games on console, PC streaming, or use an X-Men character as a competitive advantage in a game. For example, play as Wolverine in Ultimate Alliance exclusively on Xbox. They can't say that, but they can actually, I'm guessing, put him in there, but they just can't promote it. X-Men characters can appear in multi-family Marvel games, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Marvel retains rights to children's games and certain X-Men games from the 90s, but they cannot release or announce these within 45 days before or after release or announce of any of our X-Men games. So for example, if Wolverine comes out today, Marvel can't announce a game with Wolverine 45 days before or after that release date or that announcement. Marvel royalties, so they're taking 9 to 18% of net sales. That's crazy, right? That's huge. Physical games, I'm actually curious as to what makes the difference between the big numbers. Physical games, 19 to 26%. Jesus, that's like a quarter of the money that they sell on physical goes straight to them. Don't forget the shops also get a percentage of this as well. DLC, up to 26% of net sales. Hardware bundles, 35 to 50% of wholesale bundle price. Holy crap. That's crazy. That's crazy. If we mash these together, you're looking at about 25-30% that Marvel's going to take per royalty. They are eating good. They are abusing that real good. Termination. Neither party has a right to terminate the agreement for convenience. However, if we do not sell through at least 6 million units on PS5, PC combined of one of the 3 major titles in the first year after its PlayStation console release, either party may terminate the agreement. So they basically have to, if we terminate, we must pay Marvel a 9 million breakup fee plus all unpaid portions of the guarantees. If Marvel terminates, the foregoing fees are waived. The result is that we would not develop any further titles under this agreement, but we can continue to sell all the titles released before termination. So, they need to make sure that they have 6 million sales of each product now. And we've already seen, the remaster of Spider-Man didn't do so well. So this is their current timeline. You can see Spider-Man 2 has already released. 2024 is completely empty for Insomniac Games. There is nothing coming. You've got Venom coming, and as we're going to see with Venom, it's like an 8 to 10 hour game. You could call that a DLC, to be perfectly honest with you. And that is what they're tooting. And I think it is pretty much going to be on the boundaries of like a DLC. It's supposed to be the segue between Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. After that, you've got Wolverine, which has, people said it was going to be 2024, then 2025. Well, now it's looking at the end of 2026, or at least in 2026. 27 again is going to be Bleak. 28 is going to be Spider-Man 3. We're going to get another Ratchet and Clank, 6 years after its original release, or 7 years after its original release in 2029. And then we're going to get X-Men, the actual game. So, I mean, they've got a really blockbuster lineup, as you can see here. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting time for them. Again, this over here, title overview, Venom. You can see here, all new storyline that continues Spider-Man 2 and leads into Spider-Man 3, as I was saying. Playable, switchable Venom and Spider heroes. Carnage infested New York City. It's this 8 to 10 hour standalone experience for 12 missions, 3 event bosses. Of course, this is all subject to change, right? So don't take any of this as gospel. But that 8 to 10 hour just screams DLC. Again, we've got here, this one I'm adding mainly because it's got the multiplayer ambition. There's supposed to be a Spider-Man 2 online. We've just had factions cancelled, but 2024 could see this release. Rumors has it that it's been cancelled, but with the Wolverine release, they're looking to do a Wolverine online with the then you got X-Men online before the actual X-Men release, maybe tying into the story and leading up to that. It looks like there's a push for online, but it seems like it's not confirmed. And in the end, it's crazy how it's going about, and these leaks are insane. But it's clear that Sony are afraid of what this Activision deal means. And the big shift that can come from this, especially from the Activision Blizzard, because it is not a small deal. It opens so many doors for Microsoft. And clearly, Insomniac, Naughty Dog, Sony, they're all taking, massive heed of this and what it means to the ever-changing, fast-changing gaming industry. And with those costs, total costs for the games, getting higher and higher as each, real AAA game comes out, it's getting scary on how quickly things can go horribly wrong. And Sony's model of just relying on their platform isn't sustainable. And the whole notion that they're going to release games 2 years later onto PC, I just don't think anymore is the sustainable approach. And when they're being forced now to hit 6 million unit sales targets, that's a big ask at a time like this. Sure, Spider-Man 2 did really well, but there's no guarantee that Spider-Man 3 will do well. It's that simple. But by releasing it on multiple platforms like PC, they can broaden their horizon and get more sales in and hit those targets. Whether they're going to do that is unknown, but it's interesting nonetheless. That's the video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. It is a real shame that Insomniac had all this leak, but at the same time, the numbers are really interesting and it is looking more and more unsustainable when it comes to Sony. Those projections are really wild. For Spider-Man 3 and Wolverine in terms of their return of interest. They are really banking on every single person going out and buying those. I mean, 10 million, 15 million in year one is crazy, right? And we'll see how it goes. We will. Because when God of War Ragnarok took, what, a year and a half, 2 years to hit those? Maybe longer. I can't remember when God of War Ragnarok came out. But it will be an interesting time. And again, it's clear that Microsoft has scared them and scared them well. And with the Activision Blizzard deal not being the final acquisition from Microsoft as they look to strengthen their war chest for their cloud gaming, for their ecosystem, it's clear that Sony is going to have to change its business model. Because if they don't, they are going to be left behind. Well, everyone, that's the video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion, and I will see you in the next one. Remain legend.